Hey everyone, everybody here, and today we're playing Rubia, and this was developed by Ozzy Mandias. Find this over at Itch.io. I'll link in the description. And in this game, we're at a convenience store where some shenanigans happen. So, let's get into it. Ooh, sounds squishy. In a dim alleyway, a man who called himself the Prince brushed the sweat from his brow. Even now, he hadn't gotten used to the swing of an axe. It always felt too heavy. A girl's body lay by his feet. Jagged wounds marred her skin. Her arms were bent at odd angles, held to the torso only by thin, sinewy connective tissue. Each of her legs lay in two pieces. The thighs and the calves were separated. The remnants of crushed bone beneath them were splattered crimson. The prince stared at his work, grimacing. He had to finish disconnecting the arms. He grabbed a hold of the axe, and his exhausted muscles heaved the weapon high overhead. One down. Done. The axe clattered to the ground as the prince stepped backwards, bracing himself against the alley wall. He didn't have time to rest. He produced a garbage bag and knelt by the corpse, careful not to let the pooling blood touch his shoes. A few delicate movements, the prince slipped each of the girl's limbs into the bag and tied the opening into a knot. He pulled the bag aside and admired the remains, the girl's head and torso. This was always the least favorite part. He picked up the axe again, caressing the girl's face with the axe's blade. He could almost laugh. The axe was so dull that it didn't even break the skin of her cheek. Thudding of footsteps broke the quiet night. The prince whirled around. That young detective was standing at the end of the alleyway. That instant, all of the prince's hard work had been for naught. He bolted towards the other end of the alley, with the detective in pursuit. With the distance between them, the prince's silhouette was barely visible to the detective, illuminated only when passing under a street lamp. The prince was already exhausted. It took all of his strength to outpace the detective. He could barely even think, with cortisol and adrenaline driving his every footstep. The prince knew he only had a few blocks worth of strength left in his legs. As his stamina began to falter, the prince turned a corner. The detective closed the distance. He rounded the same corner and a gunshot rang out. The detective's body tumbled to the cold asphalt as a second shot burst through his torso. He groaned, the pain burning his muscles. Even through the darkness, he could make out a smile on the prince's face as he raised his revolver for a third time. The glint of polished gunmetal shone in the detective's eyes. Not like this. The detective's labored breathing slowed as he calmed himself. He climbed to his feet, blood dripping from his wounds in the stomach. Prince's smile vanished as he fired his gun again, ripping a hole into the detective's chest. Unperturbed, he lunged at the prince. The prince panicked, and his fourth shot flew clumsily past the detective's head, just barely brushing his skin. The prince turned and ran. The detective patted at the sensation of warm blood dotting his temple. He resumed the chase, though moving much slower than before. With every step he took, pain reverberated throughout his body like a kick drum. After one more block, the prince turned another corner. Too exhausted to go any further, the detective stopped, leaning against the brick wall. Inching forward, the detective managed to reach the corner and see the prince's shadowy figure running into a late-night convenience store. The dull hum of cheap fluorescent lights were just enough to keep me from nodding off. This shift, like every other night shift, had been exceedingly quiet. Free of the bustle of passing customers and television ads, I basked in the peace of silence. At the same time, I was tortured by its banality. At first, I busied myself with products that lined our shelves, straightening creases in packages and aligning each row of items to aesthetic perfection. There are only so many products to preen. At some point in the night, I started succumbing to the urge to check the time. No more than 20 minutes ever passed between checks. Every now and then, I would glance over the illuminated streets beyond the storefront and consider idling time beneath the bench outside. But I wasn't trying to get fired. So instead, I think, dream in a way. I'm an avid dreamer. This influences my thoughts. To elaborate, some weeks ago, this guy really likes to put a lot of pretentious wording into his Dialogue. Some weeks ago, I had noticed a pattern. Topics that I spent ample time thinking on during the day would inevitably reappear in my dreams. Since then, I've tried to focus my thoughts on specific ideas throughout the day so I can influence those dreams. Dreaming is almost a passion for me. Some would say that my excessive sleeping is a sign of something wrong with me. It probably is. I don't think I'd agree with that. The world of dreams is fantastical. And is it really so wrong to enjoy spending time in a world without limit over a world with? I've taken to dreaming myself as a detective. It's amazing the number of details the human mind can retain. I can hold an elaborate case in my dreams and dole out clues at an engaging pace. I wonder how the prince is doing now. Sometimes I think the brain that controls dreams is somehow less restricted than the brain that we use day to day. It seems so much more wondrous. The door chime rang for the first time in an hour. A young girl walked in. She was a small thing, paying no regard to me. A girl like her was a rarity for the night shift. I retreated behind the counter as she entered, leaning against the wall to look at the security camera feed hanging from the ceiling. Through the cameras, I watched her idle between the rows, spending several minutes flickering absent-mindedly through various snacks. The movements were quiet, as if her presence alone wasn't enough to disturb the sterility of the late night convenience store. She ventured towards the coolers lining the walls, her eyes scanning through the countless options of canned drinks. She opened one of the cooler doors and stuck her hand in, having settled on some kind of energy drink. Seeing her make the selection almost saddened me. When she leaves, I'll have nothing to look at. The thought of another uneventful hour loomed like a storm over my mind. I couldn't wait to go to sleep. Excuse me. Her voice brought me back to earth. Sorry, miss. I hurriedly grabbed at her can and brushed it against my scanner gun. Quiet night today, isn't it? You're telling me. The scanner wasn't reading the barcode. My eyes flickered between the can in my hand and the screen on my register as I tried to piece together the problem. Not working? The girl's voice seems insincere, as if she wasn't surprised that the register wasn't functioning properly. Sorry, just give me a second. I tried the scanner gun a few more times. No success. Annoyed, my hand moved towards the register's keyboard. My fingers began to type out the string of numbers along the barcode's top. Hit enter, and the item popped up. I don't know how you do something like this. The girl's head swiveled around as she talked, scanning the store's entirety. Place this quiet? I mean, I'd go insane if I were alone in the store. I prefer the silence. Perfect fit then. Can't be that many customers at this time of night, no? You're the first one in a while. I told her the total as she continued to prattle on. People are probably scared about that serial killer, you know. The girl pulled a few crumpled bills from her pocket and slid them across the counter. Is she the killer? I think so. I vaguely recalled hearing something about a serial killer a few days ago. I remembered thinking that this might be good fodder for my string of detective dreams, though I eventually decided against dwelling on real-life crimes. I don't really watch the news. Oh, you should. Fascinating things going on right now. They say he dismembers his victims and hides the body parts in fancy boxes all around town. 3 victims so far. I made a noise of feigned interest as I put her money into the register and counted out her change. A laugh escaped the girl's lips. Sorry, it must be a weird thing to bring up. It's just been on my mind lately. No need to apologize. I slid a few coins towards her side of the counter. As she moved to grab them, a loud thud echoed from outside the store's windows. Bill and I both jumped at the sound. The dim light emanating from the street lamps outside flickered before going out completely. The girl's hands were hovering over the coins, frozen in place. What was that? The girl took a moment, regained composure before answering. Nothing to worry about, I'm sure. The girl pocketed the coins and popped open her drink. Mind if I drink this in here? Truth be told, I don't blame people for being scared. I'm scared too. Of that serial killer? Yeah, that in the dark. The girl's eyes turned towards the pitch-black streets beyond the store windows. I think I should wait and see if that light comes back on. I shrugged. I won't begrudge some company. Even if it's not silent anymore, I can deal with the occasional person. Deal with, I see. The girl let out a muffled thank you as she began drinking from her can. My name's Rubia, by the way. Pretty name. Rubia laughed again as she continued to drink. I leaned against the wall behind me. Rubia began another speech about the murderer she was so entranced by. You know what's weird? Each victim was taken away in broad daylight, they say. At least. Isn't that funny? A world where there's cameras on every corner and every pair of hands, and yet people can up and disappear in front of you without drawing any notice. I like to think I'm not so unobservant. You'd like to think that, yes. I'd like to think so as well. We humans are so fallible, aren't we? Another thud echoed from the store windows, louder than the last. Vague fear began to creep into my psyche. What's going on out there? Rubia was looking down, perfectly still. Don't pay any attention. All kind of things go bump in the night. You shouldn't worry about every sound the dark offers us. I raised an eyebrow, but ultimately decided not to make too much of a deal out about the sounds. She was right. All kinds of things go bump in the night. Like detective bodies against the door. Furthermore, her voice had a certain soothing quality to it. As if I was certain to be safe from whatever was looking outside the storefront as long as she kept talking. I leaned into that feeling, urging her to continue. Yeah, boxes. Those ornate wooden ones lined with expensive linens, all nestled against a rotting leg or something. Not too bloody a sight from what I've heard. A friend of mine was one of the unlucky few to first discover a box. Maybe the madman drained the blood before putting it in. Sangration, you know? Just a thought. I assume he had a process of some kind. Have you ever seen a corpse before? You ask such morbid questions. Maybe I'm looking for morbid answers. And I'm sorry, but I'll have to disappoint you. Don't sweat it. Not a lot of people have seen a body. People can't handle that kind of thing. You seen one? My father works at a morgue. I've seen more than I can count. Has that desensitized you? Who knows? The bodies I've seen are long dead before I lay my eyes on them. Maybe if I saw a fresh one, it would stir me. Ruby's hand inched across the counter and she began playing with one of the cheap butane lighters on display. Never seen just a single body part, though. Separated from the rest, every body I've seen has been entirely whole. She flickered on one of the lighters. The dim flame danced in the tepid air conditioning. Keep playing with that and I'll have to charge you for it. She smiled. Have you heard of the murderer Hong Zihing? Say I have. Some family owned a lot of money, gambling debts that they couldn't pay. After some time, Zihing came to collect. The family owned and operated this restaurant. Zihing showed up at the closing hours and demanded his money. When he realized he wasn't getting it, he killed and dismembered the family and took over the restaurant. He wasn't caught until about a year later. Legend has it, he ground up the limbs of the people he killed and baked them into their restaurant's pork buns. Yummy. Scary, no? It's frightening what some people are capable of doing. I nodded in agreement. Brace yourself. For I could probably comprehend what she had said. A third thud hit the windows, louder than ever before. I jumped back and stared at the windows before turning to Rubia. I didn't know that was going to happen. Lucky guess. What's going on out there? How should I know? It's probably nothing. Then I'll go and see. I pushed my way out of the counter. Rubia stood directly in front of me. Her palm pressed against my chest, pushing back against my movement. Don't worry about what's going on out there. I stared at the girl's deep red eyes. I felt a strange emptiness from them. I knew it. She was the killer. So, is there something happening outside or not? It's nothing you need to worry about. Trust me. What is it then? Rubia frowned, her eyes squinting at me, as if analyzing me somehow. You could think of it as my sister. Sister? Rubia indicated with her head for me to step back behind the counter. I pursed my lips, but a crescent. Rubia's presence relaxed, the tension fading from her face. You scared of the dark? Not really. What's this about your sister? She's chasing me, so to speak. I was too confused to decide what question to ask her first. Don't worry about her. When she gets here, she won't do anything to you. Just me. You don't exactly inspire confidence. Well, I held up a hand to stop her. I need a straight answer here. All right, then. She glanced past the store windows. You get one free answer. Just one, so choose wisely. Took a moment to gather my thoughts. Why is your sister chasing you? Small smile formed on Rubia's lips. She hates me. Her voice sounded distant. Before I could apologize for upsetting her, Rubia backed away from the counter. She's here. Rubia took the lighter she had been playing with, stepping towards the store's exit. Wait! She turned her eyes, staring right through me. You said she won't do anything to me. Why not? Rubia's face twisted into a sad smile. Because you're not scared of the dark. Alright, let's go for that other answer now. Just one, so choose wisely. Took a moment to gather my thoughts. Who is your sister? She's... Rubia's face scrunched as she thought. A princess, in a way. Are you? Am I what? A princess? Rubia let out a somber laugh at the notion. Oh no, absolutely not. They never let me. Before I could ask anything else, Rubia backed away from the counter. She's here. Rubia took the lighter she had been playing with, stepping towards the store's exit. Wait! She turned, her eyes staring right through me. You said she wouldn't do anything to me. Why not? Rubia's face twisted with a sad smile. Because you're not scared of the dark. Alright, there's one option left. Never mind. Never mind. Rubia took a deep breath before speaking. You sure? Yeah. She's here. Rubia took the lighter she had been playing with, stepping towards the store's exit. Wait! She turned her eyes, staring right through me. She says she won't do anything to me. Why not? Rubia's face twisted into a sad smile. You're not scared of the dark. Well, that was Rubia. And all three of the options you get at the end plays out the same way. Nothing different. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she was the killer. The princess, her sister, was the detective. Yes, that's what I get from it. But as always, you have yourselves a good one, and I will see you later.